Mecheri is no unknown face to all of us, and as Forbes describes him, he's not your classic techno entrepreneur, but he's a businessman with a soul and a whole lot of love. Mr. Mecheri, we look forward to hearing you speak and share your closing remarks with us.
Good evening. It is quite a challenge to be between you and your wine and dinner. I will try and make the best out of the time you have for me by sharing a few instances of the ways where AIESEC has touched my life. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here at the AIESEC National Stakeholders Dinner after a few years. It brings to me some fabulous moments, memories, friends in AIESEC, and some interesting experiences I've had. I'd like to start by recounting a real incident I read about President Mandela. President Mandela and his associate, Richard Stengel, were once flying on a small, tiny aircraft, a six-seater, over South Africa. Mr. Mandela got onto the plane, and since he was in jail for several years, always had this habit to pick up the newspaper and start reading the news. And he kept reading and suddenly looked out of the window and saw that the propeller had stopped. And he called Stengel and said, "You may want to go tell the captain that this propeller has stopped." Stengel was worried, ran up to the captain and said the propeller stopped. He said, "You know what? I know that. And I am already in touch with the airport, and we have the ambulance and the fire brigade ready for an emergency landing." Stengel came back to Mr. Mandela and told him the same. Mr. Mandela did not battle an eyelid. He said yes and kept continuing to read the paper. Stengel wondered why was he completely, he did not even react to this situation. And then he probably also wondered, this is the way probably he, with his courage, motivated all those prisoners in Robben Island. When they got down at the airport, they had a safe landing. And when they went into the terminal, Mr. Mandela said, man, I was worried sick out there. That's when he really realized Mr. Mandela is a man who instills courage in people. And he motivates people to stay focused and build their dreams with his courage. He inspired courage in many people, and I've been a big fan of Mr. Mandela, and he gives me courage to do many things in my life, including standing up in front of 100-odd people and speak about leadership. As mentioned, I'm an AIESEC alumni, was a member of AIESEC between 1989 and 1993. I joined AIESEC Chennai local committee, became the president at the end of my first year in AIESEC. In my second year, I led a team of AIESEC members in the chapter to turn the chapter around from being a chapter which was in doldrums financially and to become a very strong and the best local committee in the country. At the end of the second year, I gained enough confidence to take the decision that I'll run for the president of AIESEC in India. And for the first time, I presented to the plenary of AIESEC India the concept of a full-time national committee where members from across the country would move to Mumbai and be a part of the national committee. And that was a very significant moment in my life. All this from a timid boy who came from a small town in Tuticorin was next to impossible. Such is the impact AIESEC has on people. I always consider myself as a classic transformation case study in AIESEC. Armed with the confidence of having done well in AIESEC National Committee, I set out on an internship to the US and decided that I will go out to change the world in a very positive way. I had no clue that my calling was entrepreneurship. And I decided to come back after seeing so many of those articles in New York Times about India and the liberalization process. I got back to India very quickly to start my first business and quickly learned that that was my first failure and my first business failure as well. Nevertheless, I got together with my brother and started the next venture. And in the next 15 years, we created India's largest safety, security, and automation solutions company, and the most profitable one too. We had over 600 people part of that team, and I'm proud to say some of the key team members of that team were AIESECers from across the world. It was fun working with them and building an organization with them. We then raised private equity, acquired a partner in Europe, and ultimately came to an agreement with Siemens for them to carve out their business and reverse merge it into our business. At that moment, we wondered what was so special in them, in us, and we realized it's the team and the people. It was a clear mandate for our capability, and they had the confidence that we could add value to ourselves and to them. My first learning out of that first phase of my professional experience was to lead from the front and always respect your people. The integration of the two businesses was a great test to our leadership skills. And never before it was evident in my life that leadership and entrepreneurship is a state of no ego. We managed the integration well and brought success to both the organizations. And of course, as we all realize, sometimes we plan something and life shares something else. Siemens went through his turmoil in 2009, and we decided to exit that business quicker. That's the time me and my brother decided to take a reset. He took on a role as CXO in the headquarters, and I decided to go back to school, which is something which I always wanted to do. I went to University of Chicago to get myself an MBA, which I had not managed to do earlier. That booth experience got me to realize that if I have to be leading people who are competent and who are far better than me, I got to be a constant learner. That's my third leadership experience. Today, in the third phase of my professional life, I'm again a startup entrepreneur, I'm an angel investor, and I'm also a social entrepreneur. Apart from doing what we do in business, helping people and sharing with others who are less advantaged always gives us the satisfaction. And this process of working with people through our nonprofit initiative called Chennai Volunteers keeps me grounded and helps me to realize that I have to get my hands dirty to understand realities. At this point, I'll fail in my duty if I don't say the person who runs Chennai Volunteers and my partner and friend and philosopher is my wife, is also an AIESEC alumni. So you can realize what sort of an impact it has had in my life. I have no qualms in saying I am what I am because of AIESEC. I've been told that sport is a great teacher. And I always compare a football game as an experience as compared to an AIESEC experience. At the center of the experience is the football, which selflessly allows new players to join, learn how to dribble, and become better players. The players do trip, fall down, pick themselves up, and become better players. The ball does not ask much of the players except that it be hit to the goal on the other side. While the players become better, the ball may get a little dirty or slightly damaged, may need some repairs, but fundamentally remains in that same shape. This is what AIESEC is all about. AIESEC gives every AIESECer an opportunity to experience life as a micro environment of business while being in AIESEC without a downside. It allows the AIESECers to learn, make mistakes, pick themselves up, and go forward and become better managers and better leaders. To me, no other environment gives a young person such an opportunity to learn and hone their leadership, organizational, and people skills. So I end with the story that, for me, AIESEC has been a substantial part of my success, and I have no qualms in saying, if not for AIESEC, I would not be where I am. Thank you very much, AIESEC. Thank you very much to all of you for patiently hearing me.